Good morning, everybody. Speaking to you here from a beautiful location in Amsterdam. The weather is great, even though it's October. This morning in this video, I am going to walk you through the Designathon process from a facilitator's point of view, so that you will be comfortable guiding the children through the process step by step. My name is Emer Beamer. I'm founder of Designathon Works. And I really believe in how much children have to teach us, and that it's so important to give them the skills and the opportunity to do Designathon. So thank you so much for all the effort you're putting in to make this event happen in your city. Thank you. At the beginning of every Designathon, we always do a warm-up game, especially when it's an event where the children don't know each other. So we advise you to do a game, and one that we do often is have children stand in a circle, have a ball. First you have all the children say their names, and then they start trying to learn each other's names by throwing the ball to Anna. And then Anna would try and throw the ball to somebody that she knows the name of, like Patrick. And then Patrick has to throw the ball to somebody else's name. And you just have a bit of fun. The children learn each other's names. You only want to spend about 10 minutes, but it will make them feel welcome. It'll make them feel a group. They'll get to know each other's names, and it's a good start to the day. As a second to the game, feel free to play a different game that you know already how to facilitate. We often do a game called Zip Zap. You can also have the children do stretching exercises, breathing exercises, like you'll see on the video of the 2016 Designathon. Something to make them feel comfortable, playful in the space. The second thing we would like you to do with the children is to make a short video of 20 seconds. The aim of this video is that each group of children in each city says hello to all the other children. We did this last year, and it really gave the effect of being a worldwide community by seeing the video from Singapore, the video from India, the video from Zagreb. The children say, hello, we're in Zagreb, we're in Singapore, we're doing the Global Children's Designathon, and we wish you good luck. So that sense of communicating, and then via that short video, really gives everyone the feeling like, wow, this is a worldwide experience. Okay, now we're going to do, say, Designathon proper. It's what we call the Inspire moment. It's the slides about the theme of water, which you are going to introduce to the children, all sitting in a group in one place. So it's one big discussion and dialogue with the children, showing the slides. Now the aim that you're going for here, and this is actually really important, is to get the children into their imaginative space in their head. So you're not so much trying to tell them facts about water, you're trying to elicit that they start thinking about the topic from their point of view. So I'll give you a little example. So this is the slide, and it says, what do you think of when you think about water? And you actually really want to know, what do you think about when you think about water? So you're having this lively conversation with the children, and maybe they say playing, and maybe they say drinking, and then another child says washing clothes, and you say, great, exactly. And then you go on through the slides in the same vein. So you're having this lively interactive conversation, so that they're getting all involved in the topic of water. You'll take them through the 4 problems, because in order to make water, somehow manageable, because it's such a huge topic, we have 4 problems that we refer to. It's water shortage, or access to water. It's water pollution, so where the water is in our all over the world have all kinds of pollutants in them. It's excuse me, too much water, like all the floods and hurricanes that most of the children will have heard about on the news. And the fourth one is loss of habitat. Slightly complicated term for young children, but basically you're going to explain it. The water is a bit dirty, so the animals and fish that would be living there lose the place for them to live. And we want to bring that back. So they're the four problems. Make sure the children have those because it'll help them later when they decide what to work on. Then we go into the, say, more fun part where we have a whole bunch of solutions per problem type to inspire the children about all the amazing ways that you could tackle the problems of water. And again, when you show them the solutions, so I'll just pull up one again. Say this one about collecting rainwater. Don't tell them what the solution is. Ask them, what do you see here? How do you think this works? Why might they be doing that? Because you want them again to start getting their problem solving mode on so that they can apply that when they go to the next ideation stage. And it doesn't matter what kind of a crazy association in your mind they have with what you're talking about. Please take everything seriously, because there's always an idea that can take a next step to it and lead to something interesting. Your whole slide session will take about 25-30 minutes. Try and make sure, as I was saying, that all the children are involved and that by the end of the slides they know what the four water problems are we're dealing with, and that they're excited about the different facets and ways of potentially solving them. Okay, so next main step, ideation. So you've set the scene, you have the slides discussion, everyone's excited about the theme of water. So the next step to go into is have them come up with their ideas. Before you do that, you want to make groups. So we've just been all in one group, but now we're going to transfer. They're going to get into smaller groups with whom they will stay working with for the rest of the Designathon. We advise 3. 3 children is a really good number. They work together well, they have enough ideas, and they can share the tasks when they prototype. 4 is good too. You have to keep an eye on them a little bit more, that they don't become 2 groups working on 2 slightly different ideas. 2 is a bit too little, because at the end, when you get to presenting for your big audience, you'll have too many projects and it'll take too long. So 3 or 4 in your groups of children. We always allow them to self-select. So basically you give the instruction, now children, we want groups of 3, form your own groups. Anyone who doesn't have a group, we'll help you, come to us and we'll form a group. Give them a few minutes. This always works, that they choose somebody they want to work with, and that's nice for such an event. Okay, so you've got your children in groups, then explain to them they are going to be using this Ideate sheet to come up with their ideas. It speaks for itself, so you don't have to explain it too much, but the main thing that children might not want to do is the fact that they have to establish together as a group which problem within the theme of water they want to solve. They might say to you, but I already have an idea. We want to make a robot that's going to clean the water from plastic. And what you need to say to them, say, that's great, keep that idea in your mind, but still go through the process of describing the problem you're solving. You can convince them by saying that that's how designers, that's how inventors work. They have a problem and then they come up with a solution. Also, as facilitators, we know very well that as they go through the process later, having defined their problem makes it much easier for them to continually come back to their concept and keep it focused. So for the rest, you can pretty much let them do the sheet. Give them a little space. Once they start getting started up, you can start going to each group and say, how's it going? Do you need any help? What's your idea? What's your idea? You need to be having two things going on. One, you are not directing them and telling them what to think. It's their idea, it's their process, and we want to elicit it by questions so that they decide their problem and their idea. Actually, that's the main thing. The second thing is you can give them suggestions. So it's not that you have to pretend you don't know anything or have any ideas, but never give one suggestion, give two, give three. So you could say, well, maybe you could introduce sensors to help you understand where the plastic is. Or maybe you could have wheels on the robot so that it could move easier. Or would you prefer to use, maybe it could move by air? So you can suggest things, just don't tell them what to think. But I'm sure you all appreciate that way of working. It takes about 25 minutes and make sure that all children go through each step. And it nearly happens by itself that they come up with a good idea. So good luck with the ideas phase. It's of course very important to focus and come up with a cool idea. The end of the day is of course one big presentation of every single group and their idea. But earlier in the day, we practice a few times with presenting the idea, the sketch, a half-built prototype. We do this for two reasons. The first is the children start getting used to the fact that they have to explain and present and speak what they're doing. And the second reason is that it helps other children focus. So if you see a group and they're already working together really well, they've got an idea, they're excited about it, and you say, everybody, stop for a moment, listen to this group, and they share where they're at. Any of the other groups, they're a little bit confused maybe, or a little bit wondering, or haven't gotten as far yet, they'll be like, hey, they've done it, come on guys. So it motivates and focuses the other children. Now the format we use for presenting, and we find it to work really well, and it's written on this sheet that you have, can you see that? That you have in your guidelines books is, the child says, my name is, the problem we're solving is, and our idea is. So every time you use this format, so they get used to and comfortable with speaking, and it keeps your presentations short, so that it's not too long for everyone to listen to. So ask them also to stand up, say, start with your name, what problem are you solving, and what's your idea. Ask everyone to give them applause, because it's scary, and it sets a good tone, we're encouraging each other, so applause for every time people present. You'll do that, say, with 2 or 3 groups at the end of ideation, 2 or 3 groups at the end of sketching, and maybe again during the making phase. It helps bring back the focus to the energy and the high point at the end of the day when everyone's going to present. So use the sheet, get everyone to learn how to present as the day goes on. There's a good point that you need to watch out for. Children are coming up with new ideas. The ideas are not going to be perfect, they're not polished, they're not finished. Sometimes they're a little bit ridiculous, and that's all okay. But you want to keep that atmosphere between the whole group. So if a child wants to ask a question or point out maybe something they see in another group's idea that's not so good, you need to nip that in the bud. You don't want that happening yet. What you're going to say is, it's great if you have an idea to make their idea better, but we're not critiquing each other's ideas because it's too early in the process for that. We're just in the divergent idea stage, so critique is not welcome. So tell the children, we want tips, we want suggestions for making it better, but we're not looking for criticisms. Okay, so now you have a group of children with a bunch of beginning ideas, and your next step in the process, in the Designathon process, is to sketch. We get the children to sketch as much as they're getting very excited now, they love their ideas, and they probably prefer to just go making with all the fun materials. We kind of insist basically that they sketch, because realize that their ideas are in their heads. They see things. Each different child sees something. When they use the sketch page, they have to transfer their vision in their minds to a 2D flat drawing. Emphasize, it doesn't matter how good the drawing is, it's a functional description of their idea. It also helps the children to collaborate again. What is it that we're actually making? You know, if we are making a starship that's going to bring water to places that are dry, is that a starship that's this, or is it like this, or does it have wheels or engines or colors? Each child will have a different vision, and by drawing it together they'll cohesive their idea, and it will be much easier to take it to the next step. You don't need to spend too long on it. That act of transferring your idea to paper will help them a lot when they get to the next building phase. Again, you can ask a couple of children to say, what have you drawn? Explain to us how it works. Encourage everybody that it's a helpful exercise, not about making a beautiful drawing. So that's sketching. Okay, now we are getting to the prototyping and making stage. In the evaluations that we do with children afterwards, it always scores as the highest, most enjoyable part of the process. So a lot of excitement towards now we're going to make stuff. To set the stage, we advise you first introduce your maker kit box. We've got all these fun electronic things that they can use, but have them sitting in a group first, because you will use the 4 video tutorials that we've made that explain the basics of how you use the things in the box, in the maker kit, and by having seen those it will speed up the learning process so much for how to use and connect the light, the motor, a switch to turn things on and off, and how to incorporate wheels so that it can actually ride. So you've got your maker kit, you're introducing it in a group that they're sitting and listening, watching videos. The second thing you have are tools. You have some screwdrivers, you have some maybe Stanley knives, you might have a drill, as per the list. Point out to the children that that's where the tools are, and that they are allowed to use them as they need. The third thing you have are cardboard boxes, plastic bottles, etc., straws, aluminium foil. Explain to them they are going to make a prototype that brings all these things together to explain their idea to the audience. It's a prototype, which means it will not be perfect. It will show how cool their idea is and how it will work, but it won't work completely, because that's a much longer process. Inventors, they might spend 5 years taking their idea to a final product. Telling the children that makes them feel a bit like, okay, I can do this. Because some children get a bit overwhelmed, like, how am I going to make my idea with these things and my friends in the next hour? So it's a prototype, it's the first version of their idea, and it's okay if it's not perfect. Now there's 3 things that are dangerous, potentially, that you need to be on top of. The first is your glue guns. You can burn your finger. You won't go to hospital, but still, it's not very nice. Have a glue gun station with an adult who is helping each child that comes to glue gun stuff, so they don't burn their fingers. You can let them use the guns themselves. Lots of children are familiar with them, but be on top of the glue gun burning. Second thing is your Stanley knives, very sharp. I wouldn't let the 7 and 8 year olds use them. Again, you want to have an adult on top of it. Unless a child says, I use them all the time at home, go, okay, fine, be careful. Third danger that you need to watch out for, again, it's not a hospital situation, but you can short circuit this battery holder, 2 batteries, by connecting the wires to each other. I'm not sure if you can see that, but basically if this is not connected to a motor or a light, it is not using the energy, and the energy is connected. You'll know if that's happening if the batteries are getting hot. If the batteries are getting hot, you have a short circuit, take out the batteries, disconnect the wires. So these are your tools for making prototyping. You're introducing them. You've got your maker kit, your tools, and your cardboard and plastic. Children are going to bring them together. Let them have a free-for-all. They will move, they'll take, they'll ask, they'll need help. It works out in the long run. If they take too many things from the kit, they'll not use them all, and the other child can go and get the motor over there. So don't worry too much. That process usually works itself out very nicely, and each child will create a prototype they'll be proud of. Okay, so the making has started. And what is your role as facilitator during this process? One part of it is to have fun and enjoy it, because it's usually very celebratory feeling, because the children are super engaged and excited and concentrated making their work. As a facilitator, you are helping, but you're not taking over. You're helping more than one group, so don't just stay at one group and help them the whole time. Move around and see who needs what. 3 types of things that your children need help with. First, choosing what materials to use to transform their idea into a prototype. The second is how to construct it. Is it glue? Is it tape? Is it on top of each other? So construction. And then the third item is how to incorporate some of the technology into it so that it makes sense. If they get stuck or not sure how to proceed, refer back to the sketch and their idea, because that's the driving force of the whole process. What do they want to make? And what did they draw when they were sketching their idea? Usually that will give the children enough grip to think, oh yeah, sure, we have to make the arm or the motor or whatever it is. Your main role is hands and encouragement. You also have a couple of videos about how to make things with water pump, water filter. If possible, have a laptop where those videos are ready. So if one group wants to pump water from A to B, you can say, well look, here's a water pump video. Could you make this, or could you somehow incorporate that in your prototype? Yeah, it can be a struggle, but the sense of overcoming your challenges and making your prototype elicits so much pride from the children, so make sure they keep going to the end and make the best product they can in the moment. Okay, so we're getting towards the climax of the Designathon event when the children are going to present to the public. I'm talking about the last half an hour of making before the presentations are going to start. Probably the most intense period in your Designathon, because you have children rushing to the finish, and part of your team has to get the space ready to accept the new guests, the public, the parents, whoever's coming to watch the presentations. So split your team into 2 groups. Some are helping the children finish and some are getting the space ready. Remind the children a few times through the making process how much time they have left. Children are actually very good at realizing, okay, I have a half an hour, forget that, focus on this, make it happen. So remind them a few times how much time they have, and they will bring it to a close. So that's your getting your children ready for the presentation. Now, you need to set the stage for where the presentations are going to happen. You've got a couple of elements. You've got your expert panel, you've got the works, the prototypes that the children have made. It's nice to have them, you know, say at the front of the stage where everyone can see them. And you've got your public, of course, and you want to make sure the children who are small are able to see the whole thing. So now everything is ready to go. Start off with, of course, welcoming your new public and telling them very briefly how many cool things you have been doing in the day, including some of the Instagram videos showing the other cities. So now the whole public realizes how much this is a world happening event. Now you're going to present. You have each group of children coming forward as a group, preferably with a microphone because it helps them play the role of presenter. You're going to use the same format again of the problem we chose to solve is our idea is, and now you have a third step, and this is what we made, and they explain what they've made. The presentation length is 2, max 3 minutes per group, so that it's not too long for everybody. After the children have done their small presentation, ask one of your expert panel folk to give feedback or suggestions or what they liked about the presentation. Ask for an applause from the whole audience to keep encouraging the children in their efforts. A lot of children are very shy at presenting, so they'll be comforted by the applause and they'll deserve it for their work. Then you give them the certificate for having taken part in the day, and then you move on to the next group. So each group is presenting, feedback from expert panel, applause and certificate. Okay, so we're getting towards the absolute last moment, and what you want to do is kind of wrap up your event as the beautiful package it has been and give it a small send-off. You do that by doing thank yous to all the people who have made it possible, and you know, make sure you have a good list so that you don't forget people, and thank them all and elicit the audience to give a big applause for everybody who has made your event happen. The other thing I would invite you to do, it's not a must, but we do it in the Netherlands, is to explain again to everybody what's the mission, why are we doing this? We're trying to teach the next generation of children to become change makers for a better world using technology. And if they want to be involved to make the movement bigger, they're welcome, they should contact us. Your very last activity is then to actually ask all the children to come on the stage, because you want to make a group photo of all children with their prototypes. And basically then you say, everyone's invited for a drink outside, if they are, or you say, thank you again so much for coming, let's finish with a round of applause. Last thing to do, invite the children front for their big photo, and that's then basically the event, the end of your amazing event, and well done if you got to this part of the video. Thanks.